Oh.
Who's sponsoring?
Sorry about that.
After Al Chaim.
It wasn't
Good.
Right, did I bump into you today on Castle Road? I always get mixed up between you and your cousin. Was it you?
No. You mean what? Ari Labe?
In Alev's house. Was it you?
No. Must have been him.
So confused. How's everybody?
Tired.
Hot.
It's a hot day today.
I decided to get dressed for the sim already.
Oh, very good.
But Salal, can I take it off now?
No, till the end of the year.
No, it's too hot.
How much is he paying you to wear it, Shiur?
But
Say?
that's schwitzen for the Eibestern.
Shiur doesn't understand Yiddish.
When's the last time you won a hat and jacket, Moishi?
We're going to finish the perk today, Mr. Hashem. It's quite exciting.
Mute.
Right. We're starting a new Mishnah on Daf Ein Hey Amud Beis. The last Mishnah told us all 39 of its malachos, and the Gemara very briefly discussed every one. Now the Mishnah starts talking and will continue to talk. The Gemara now for the next many daf will discuss just one topic, which makes it very easy in a way to understand, but it can get a bit it's less exciting in a way. And that is like this. The Gemara discusses that on Shabbos, one of the 39 of us malachos is carrying. In order to be chayav for carrying, a person has to carry something which is valuable. A person carries a crumb, but he's not chayav for carrying on Shabbos. And now we're going to discuss how much you chayav, what are you chayav for, and this goes on and on and on. What exactly is a person chayav for carrying? Now, the Meforshim all a bit bothered. Why is this the next obvious topic after 39 of us malachos? The Tosfos Yom Tov discusses it, and he gives two different answers. One answer is that since we said at the beginning of the period, Klal Goder, a general rule, so this Mishnah begins with a phrase, a general rule. We like to always have Mishnayos that start with similar phrases, like we have Prokim of Ein Bein, many Prokim where there's a similar concept, similar idea, similar phrase, especially as Tosfos so often tells us they used to learn Mishnayos off by heart. Everything was off by heart. So therefore it was important to keep similar Mishnayos next to each other. Alternatively, he says like this: if you're ever discussing many topics and then you want to elaborate about each one, a person tends to talk about the last thing. Right? If I say to you, so 5 years ago into this summer holidays, 4 years ago this, then you come to talk about the last thing, you start elaborating about it. Since we had 39 of us malachos, so now we're going to elaborate on the very last one. What was the last of the 39 of us malachos? It was carrying. Therefore, that's why the Mishnah discusses carrying, and once it starts discussing carrying, it continues with that. So either because it's a similar phrase, or because it's the last malacha we discussed, we're going to talk about carrying for a very long time. So Mishnah says, Oid klal acher omu, another general rule they said, Kol hakosher lehatzniah, anything which is suitable and valuable to put away, umatznin kamoyu, and their quantity is good enough that somebody would put it away. That means the Mishnah is talking about quality and quantity. It has to be something of a good quality. For example, a person won't take some dirt and carry it because dirt is not valuable, it's not a good quality. And then there has to be quantity. Quantity meaning something valuable, let's say some hay. But there has to be a quantity that somebody would carry. A person is not going to take one blade of hay and carry it in the street. There's no use. So it has to both be the quality. Kosher la'atzniya means it has to be something of value. Umatznin kamoyu, and it has to be enough that a person would consider fit that it's worthwhile to carry. V'yitzirei b'Shabbos chav chatos olo yechav chatos. V'chol she'ina kosher la'atzniya. If it's not good quality, v'matznin kamoyu v'yitzirei b'Shabbos einoi chayav, you're not chayav elo hamatzniur. That means if for one person, let's talk about one blade of grass. One blade of grass, it might be good quality because you can feed your sheep or your goats with it. but it's not enough quantity because it's only one blade. But let's say for some reason somebody has a particular feeling for this blade of grass, and for him it is very, very important, and he does carry it. So then he will be chayav, but everybody else that carries it will be potter. That is the two halachas Mishnah tells us. First of all, it has to be a quality and quantity, and if not, you're potter. And second of all, if a person treasures it and he carries it, then he's indeed chayav. It is very interesting that Rashi, a very small Rashi, if you've got the ability to turn to Daf Ayin Daled Amud Aleph in the middle of the page, Rashi says, the Rashi says in Daf Ayin Daled Amud Aleph, the middle of the page, that if you do less than any of this, you're chayav. That means you're not chayav chatos, but it is awesome in HaTorah. That means the difference between taking the right amount and less than the right amount is very, very little. If you take less than the right amount, then you're chayav, you've done an aver min HaTorah. You take the full amount, then you're chayav chatos, which would mean that nowadays, when there's no korbanos, it makes almost no difference whatsoever. Many of the Rishonim argue, and they hold that regarding carrying on Shabbos, we do not say the principle of chatos she'er awesome in HaTorah. And in fact, it would only be awesome with Rabbanon. So to carry less than a good quantity, according to most Rishonim, it's only awesome with Rabbanon. According to Rashi, it's awesome in HaTorah. So that's the 2 points. That's a machlokes Rishonim. There's a famous tzlach who says, Yehuda, that there's no concept of chatos she'er as awesome in HaTorah except for food. Everything else, there's no such thing as chatos she'er. Maybe one day we'll discuss why he says that. According to him as well, carrying less than the shear is not even awesome in HaTorah, it's only awesome with Rabban. Says the Gemara. What is something which is so bad quality, such a useless thing that nobody ever carries? The blood of a niddah is useless, and therefore a person will not carry it. The Rishonim ask, what about other kinds of blood? The blood of an animal. And they say the blood of an animal is sometimes carried, and therefore you can't. Mishnahs talk about dafka dam niddah, but not other kinds of blood. The Dovim Mishram asks the kasha that sometimes one does need to carry dam niddah. You need the Rav to paskin on it. Sorry, the Ran asks this kasha. The Ran. He gives two interesting answers. Either to carry to the Rav to check it, you only need to take a minute amount, and therefore taking more than that is useless. So therefore, it's not really valuable. Or he says we're talking about where the Rav is already paskant, and he says that's more meduk in the Gemara because the Gemara says dam niddah. Dam niddah means dam which has already been decided that's dam niddah. So the Gemara says when we're talking about something which is useless, if a person takes a cup of blood of dam niddah, he will not be chayav. What about being chayav for the cup? Anybody want to suggest would you be chayav for taking the cup with the dam niddah inside?
It's not the ikka, so it's not what you want. It's total to the main thing.
Very, very good. Remember that from previously. Remember we talked about it once.
I know, but I think the Mishnah.
Yes, we had it. That's right. We had
no,
it
the Mishnah in I think in Perks something else.
Yeah, later it's going
to.
Yes, very good. We talked about it previously. But if you take a cup of dam niddah, you're not chayav for the cup because the cup is full of the blood, and the blood's useless. Atzei Asher is wood of an Asherah tree, which is the avodah zarah tree, which you have to destroy. So if you carry that on Shabbos, you don't have. Man dama dam niddah koshkin atzei Asher. Of course, atzei Asher. Man dama atzei Asher dam niddah matznele leshonva. People would feed dam niddas to the cats. Therefore, it wasn't useless, and therefore it has value, and therefore that what person would be chayav for. Ve'edoch, according to the other man dama. Why did he say that dam niddah is something you're not chayav to carry? It's useful. You can feed your cats. The Gemara says, "Kiva the chol shalei matznale." Since it makes illness, people don't use it. There's a very big question of showing them exactly how does dam niddah feeding it to a cat make illness. Tosfos, Avodah Zarah says that anything belonging to a human being which is destroyed weakens the person. So therefore, for example, he talks about burning your nails. He says burning your nails actually makes a person weaker. Tosfos, interesting Tosfos. So he holds, therefore, that getting rid of dam niddas is destructive. There are others who explain that over here, it doesn't mean it destroys the person, it destroys the cat. The cat that eats Dam Nidus will become weaker. There's a Ramban in Parshas Vayetz, in Parshas, what it is, I think it's in Vayeshev. The Ramban says, so it's not, it's in Parshas Kedoshim, I'm sorry, that it says that Dam Nidus, just looking at it makes a person more not well. So there's a shayla over here, exactly how does it cause destruction? Okay. So either way, so it's machlekes whether a person's chayav or potter is something about or not. Omar Yosef Rab Chanina, Hi, our Mishnah Derek Rab Shimon. Dik Rab Shimon lo yomu kol ashun alolu el lamatzniyen. These shurim only said for those who put it away. There's a very big argument. Exactly what is the argument between Rab Shimon and the Chachamim? And interestingly enough, Rashi contradicts himself on this daf to the next daf. And more interestingly is Tosfos over here, the bottom Tosfos Ho, tries to explain how to answer the contradiction in Rashi. Needless to say, there's a big machlokes in the Rishonim. What exactly is machlokes and Kam Shimon? There are three mahalchim. I'll say them briefly, but it's good for you to be aware. That means like this. According to the Tanna Kama, the Tanna of our Mishnah, in order to be chayav on Shabbos and Aveira for carrying, you have to carry something of significance. And the Tanna will now list us long lists of what is significant, right? Enough food to feed a cow, enough milk to have a gulp full, lists and lists and lists of what is considered a significant amount. And the Tanna says that if a person finds something else more precious, let's say a person finds, as I said, one blade of grass, it's got sentimental value, then he would be chayav for less than those shurim. That is what the Tanna Kama holds. There are three ma'alchim in the Rishonim. Which point does Rab Shimon not agree? Either Rab Shimon is being more mekel, and he holds that only a poor person is chayav for these shiur. That means enough to feed a cow. The Mishnah later says that's chayav because that's a proper amount. Says Rab Shimon, Rashi over here explains this, that's not true. That's for a normal person. But for a wealthy person, he's never going to carry enough to feed a cow. He's going to carry much more than that. So maybe Rab Shimon argues that these lists which we're going to have is for the standard person. But for a wealthy person, in order to be chayav, you have to carry much more. That is one explanation. That's Rashi's explanation here. Rashi later explains that Rab Shimon argues that according to the Tanna of our Mishnah, if a person has sentimental value, then any amount that he takes, he's chayav because it's precious to him. Since it's precious to him, so therefore it's significant, and therefore he's chayav. Comes along and Shimon says, no, it has to be a proper amount. Even if somebody finds something precious, if it's not a proper amount, he's not chayav. Oh, and one other explanation is that according to Rab Shimon, later we're going to have a list of things which less than the revere is so important, like wine is precious even less than the revius because you could dilute it and add like orange concentrate. How much orange concentrate you need to carry? So normally a drink is a revius, but this is something that can be diluted. Now, according to Rab Shimon, no, it has to be a minimum of a revius. Less than a revius is not important. That means the Tanna is going to tell us lists, except for those who find something precious. Rab Shimon argues in one of three different ways. Rashi over here says either he argues that a wealthy person needs to take more, or that a sentimental person needs to take more, or that there's nothing less than the revius. Anything less than the revius is not considered important. So the Gemara over here says that our Mishnah is not like Reb Shimon, because our Mishnah says not like that. Our Mishnah gives a list, and over here, I didn't mute anybody, by the way.
No, you just went silent, I think. Does anyone else have it?
No. Okay.
No.
Okay, I was just summarizing, but it's not important because Shimon argues that Mishnah. More comes to it, a great event later. Anything which is not kosher latzniya. I just want to mention very briefly. The Rambam Pirush Mishnah says in a kosher latzniya is something that by putting it away will get ruined very quickly, and therefore a person doesn't put it away. So therefore, it's not important. Rashi doesn't say like that. Rashi says something which is not valuable. The most like this. The Tanya. Sorry, top of Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. Anything which is not valuable. and one person puts it away, and somebody else takes it, this person is chayav with somebody else's thought. That means, if I have in my house something which I consider precious, but it is less than a significant amount, therefore, if I carry it, of course I'm chayav. Comes along with Shimon Elazar and says, not only if I carry it, but if you carry it, you're also chayav. So let's say, for example, this, I've got a chayav cup. Let's show you to finish the perek. A chayav cup could be precious, I don't know, but let's say it's not. Again, I'll just summarize, because maybe I didn't say it well enough in the beginning. In order to be chayav on Shabbos for that Avera, you have to do a proper malacha. Like we said before, if you sew and you only do one stitch, you're not chayav. Why? Because one stitch is so insignificant, it's not considered a malacha. If you do 2 stitches, then you're chayav. So carrying as well, if you carry a crumb, you're not considered carrying. You've carried, it's such a small amount, it's not considered real carrying. The Mishnah now establishes for us on every ingredient what's a significant amount for straw, for grass, for hay, for milk, for wine, for water, for bread. Each thing, what is a significant amount of bread? What's a significant amount of milk that you should be chayav for carrying? Let's say this l'chaim cup is not significant. It's not precious. Therefore, most people, if they carry, do not be chayav. So let's say, imagine I got this, and it reminds me of when I finished the Masechta. So for me, it's very, very important. I treasure this cup, let's say. So therefore, if I carry it, what's the halacha? If I carry it, what's the halacha? No, that's not the machlokes. Why? Who is saying Shimon? No, I would be chayav. Because if I carry it, it's precious to me. The machlokes is, what happens if you carry it? The fact that I can... What?
What does Tanakama hold?
Tanakama holds that you're chayav, because the Tanakama says that kol some do matzniah it, some do puts it away. So for him it is precious, so for him it's chayav. But let's say somebody else carries it, that's the machlokes. Tanakama says, for me it is precious, for you it's nothing. So if you carry it, it's not chayav. Comes out Shimon Elazar says no. Since I've established this is, let's say for example, a heirloom, it's something of value, therefore I'm chayav. Therefore you're also chayav. Now, we'll explain the introduction. The rest of the Mishnah should be very, very straightforward. Every Mishnah just tells us measurements of what is considered a proper amount to be chayav for carrying. Says the Mishnah. Hamoitzi tevan, if you take straw, kimloi pi po, it has to be enough to give a mouthful of food to a cow. David Mishom asks the question that later we're going to learn the halachas of bread, milk, water. Surely those are more important than straw. Why does the halachas of straw and grass come before the halachas of milk and water? Anybody want to suggest an answer?
You have to feed your animals first.
Oh, very good. So you have to feed your animals first. Therefore, since you have to feed your animals first, very good. So therefore, we discuss feeding animals first. If you've got an animal, you have to remember, Mishnah talks about feeding animals first. Very good. So if you take out straw, kimoli, pipo, enough to feed a cow, or Eitzah. The Gemara will talk about exactly what Eitzah is. It's a kind of produce. Kamloi pi gomel, enough to feed a camel. Camels, by the way, have bigger mouths than cows, just for the record. Omir, which is like stubble, it's like straw. Kamloi pi tleh, enough to feed a sheep. Asavim, grass. Kamloi pi gedi, like a goat. Ale shum. Oh, I just explained something. The bigger the animal, the bigger the mouth. The bigger the animal, the more it is able to eat. A little lamb is not able to eat hard wood, twigs, and straw. Can only eat grass. So therefore, if I take enough to feed a little lamb, but I take it of, let's say, heavy-duty straw, which a lamb can't eat, would you consider me chayav or potter? What would you say? Come on. If I take enough to feed a sheep, but I don't take grass, I take straw.
We're talking about amount, not facts. So it would still be chayav, even though the lamb can't eat it. We're talking about an amount that can fit in its mouth.
No, why would you say that? No. If I take grass, which a sheep can eat, so then if I take enough to feed a sheep, I'm chayav. If I take straw, which a sheep can't eat, but I take enough to feed a cow, so then I'm chayav. If I take straw, which a sheep can't eat because it doesn't have good enough teeth, but I take enough to feed just a little sheep, then I'm potter. Why? Because the product is not something that will satisfy anybody. A sheep can't eat it, and a cow, it's too little. So therefore I'm potter. If it's not clear, you should stop me. is it must be, this is straightforward, this is simple. If I take, every animal has different abilities to digest food. The camel, have you ever seen a giraffe eating branches off a tree? The giraffe's got a huge amount, massive mouth, and it's able to eat even proper twigs. You try and give twigs to a little lamb, the lamb won't know what to do with it, can't eat it. So therefore it's logical, if to be carrying on Shabbos, you have to take something that has some value. So if I take little grass, blades of grass, which a little lamb can eat, and I take enough to feed a lamb, so then I've taken something which is suitable, and therefore I'm chayav. If I take a bit of, take straw, which is heavy, and a sheep can't eat it, and all I take is enough for a little lamb to eat it, then of course I'm not chayav. Only if I take enough for a cow to eat it. Is that not logical? It should be logical. If I take ale shum, leaves of garlic, ale bitzanim, leaves of olives, lachin, if they're moist, then human beings can eat it. Gugugeres, like a dried fig, because a human being can eat that much. Yaveshim, if they're dry, and human beings can't eat the leaves of olives, of onions and garlic, enough for a goat to eat. The aim is starting them. We don't combine. That means if you take a little bit of, let's say, camel food and a little bit of lamb food, and together you should say, well, maybe it's enough to feed the lamb. No, that's not. We're not mitzvah shiur. And if I take a tiny bit of straw and a tiny bit of grass and I start walking the Shus Rabbim, I'm not chayav on Shabbos. Well, it says my eitzah. What exactly is eitzah? It's the straw, the hay, which comes from beans. That means beans, when they grow, they have like a kind of outer leaves. Those outer leaves, those are considered eitzah. Let's just see if it's got a nice picture over here. No, not really. No, it's not. No pictures. It's not so hard to picture what these things are. Okay. That is like this. Here, he took enough to feed a cow, but he took the food which is good only. Sorry, he took enough to feed a cow, but he took it to feed a camel. So that's the question. It's not the same as what we discussed about in our Mishnah. In our Mishnah, we talked about taking a food which a sheep cannot eat and only taking enough for a sheep to be able to eat. That clearly is not important, it's not valuable. Over here, we're talking about where you took enough for a cow to eat, and it's a substance that a cow can eat, but the problem is only that I took it in order to feed a camel. So Rabbi Yochanan says, Chayav Shok says Potter. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said. That Safa in the morning, Hadabe. Rabbi Yosef Shapi Obad Hada. It's good that Rabbi Yochanan was Choyza. You took it for a camel, and a camel will not be satisfied. If I take a cow food, which a camel can eat, but it won't satisfy the camel, so if I'm not Chayav, it makes more sense like what he said originally. It's good enough for a cow. If you take straw, which is enough for a cow, but you bring it out for a camel, everybody agrees it's chayav. Where you took enough of camel food for a cow. And here the Gemara says another thing. We'll learn another round. Meaning, the food which camels can eat, which is basically the straw from beans, that can be eaten by a cow in desperation. A cow normally was not happy with it. A cow prefers to eat straw because it's hard for it to chew this beans, which are much, much thicker. But in desperation, it will eat it. Here it actually does have a bit of pictures if you want to see. Here's a cow. Wake people up a bit. Right? Here's a cow eating straw. A camel, eating bean leaves. A sheep eating stubble from the produce. And a little goat eating grass. See, each one's eating slightly less, right? Okay. So, what were we saying? Oh, so now we say like this. What happens if you take camel food for a cow? Camel food, a cow will only eat in desperation. So the Gemara now begins machlokas if you're chayav or potter. Birchon says achila de chak is loishmo achila, not called food if you're not chayav. The Shlomo says you are chayav. Summarizing again, if a person takes enough food for a cow, and it's the right ingredient, it's the kind of food that cows like to eat, of course you're chayav because you took it out for a cow. If you take that same food for a camel, the Gemara in the Havana wants to say that you're potter because at the end of the day a camel will not be satisfied. The Maskana of the Gemara says, yes, you are chayav because at the end of the day it is enough for a cow to enjoy and it is a significant food. Later the Gemara says, what happens if you take a food which a cow struggles to eat? That the Gemara has by machalikas. We also like this. Ali shum, garlic leaves, the ali b'salim, onion leaves, lachem if the moist to girls. Like a dried fig. The ovation kolopia git. The aim and staff in them, zepte shloi shavu b'shuren.
You missed a few lines. Did you say that?
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't notice one line actually, but it's a good point. Because there's a taste in it I wanted to say. Very good. Omer, the amount which a sheep can eat. But we said in the Brisa like a dried fig. It's the same Shiur. The Brisa just says gogeres like a dried fig. The Mishnah says the amount that a sheep can eat. The amount that fills up the mouth of a sheep is the same as a dried fig. Says Tesus, if that's the case, why does the Mishnah not tell us that? Why does the Mishnah say, thank you, Yohavi, for putting it out, it's an important point. Why does the Mishnah not say that a dried fig? Answers Tesus, if you look at it, it's the second individual chashur. If the Mishnah said like a dried fig, you wouldn't have known, but why in the world am I chayav for taking out like a dried fig? That's why the Mishnah had to say, this is enough to fill the mouth of a sheep, and therefore, since it's enough to feed the mouth of a sheep, that's why a person's chayav. Very good. The Gemara carries on. That we don't combine this shur. That means like this. We'll try and make it like. Let's say you need 100 grams of straw to feed a cow. That it should be straw is like something that a cow can eat, and it is enough 100 grams to make a cow feel that it's eaten something improper. So if a person carries 100 grams of straw on Shabbos, he's chayav because he's carried something. The ingredient is a good amount for a cow, and it's a good ingredient, and it's a good amount. And let's say a sheep eats 50 grams of grass. So if a person carries 50 grams of grass, it's less, and it's a more light food, but it's enough for a sheep to get full, then the person is chayav. What would happen if a person would take 25 grams of grass and 25 grams of straw? Would he be chayav or would he be potter? There the Gemara says he would be potter. And the logic is very straightforward. Why? Because 25 grams of grass and 25 grams of straw, what is it going to be good for? A sheep will never be able to eat it because a sheep can't eat straw, can only eat grass. And therefore, the sheep will not be able to eat it. It is too indigestible for the sheep. A cow, 50 grams is not enough to give a cow a feeling that you've actually fed it. So therefore, 25 grams of straw plus 25 grams of grass together, 50 grams, is not enough to be chayav. And therefore, you're potter. But let's say a person wants to take 100 grams of straw for a cow, and he sees he's missing 100 grams. You only got 75 grams. So he decides to add 25 grams of grass to the 75 grams of straw in order that there should be something to feed the cow with. So he's got 75 grams of straw, and 25 grams of grass, and he goes to feed the cow with that, would he be chayav or potter? What would you say? What's the logic dictate? What's the logic dictate? Of course, he'd be chayav. Why? Because the 75 grams of straw for the cow plus the 25 grams of grass, a cow can certainly eat grass, only it can even eat straw. So therefore, when you combine the two together, of course, the cow will be satisfied. So therefore, when it's to be more machmir, meaning that means for the more chobu of them, of course, it's mitzvah. So it's not mitzvah. That means to say that it's mitzvah for the chobu. Over here, chobu is always the smallest shear, because the smallest shear is more chobu. It's a lesser of amount, you already chayav. So mitzvah for the chobu, of course, you chayav. For the cow, but for the cow, which is the biggest shear, the mitzvah. When things are not the same measurement, to be mitzvah and other mitzvah, what's that? There's a Mishnah in Kalim, which talks about tumah v'tal. And as we said many times in tumah v'tal, in order for something to be tummy, it has to be a keli, it has to be usable. So if you find a tiny thread and you touch it when a person's a zov, of course it won't be tummy. Why? Because it's too insignificant. It says Mishnah, a beged, a piece of clothing. A piece of clothing usually means something made out of either wool or linen. Shloisha is 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim. The sack, what's sack usually made out of? Does anybody know? What's sack usually made out of?
Goat's hair.
Very good, goat's hair. It's not usually made for clothing, it's usually made for bags. Then sackcloth, arbo al arbo, it has to be 4 by 4 to be of value. Leather, chamisho al chamisho, is only of value if it's 5 by 5. Mapots, a mat made out of reeds, shisha al shisha. That means, in order for something to be considered a proper piece of clothing, so if it is wool, 3 or 12 by 3 tvachim, goat's hair, 4 by 4, leather, 5 by 5, a mat, 6 by 6. V'toni alo, ha-beged v'asak, v'oi, ha'oi v'amapot, v'staf in zem zeh, that if you need to combine the two together to make a person chayav, then he can combine the two and it makes a chayav. V'omar b'shvun, why? Ma'atav de'shvun, itam Moshe. In order, because at the end of the day, if you want to sit on it, let's say you've got a piece of garment, half leather, half wool. So you can sit on it. Since you can sit on it, it's with stuff. Says the Gemara, but you see, the only reason the metame is only because you can combine them. If you can't combine them, not metame. So also in our Mishnah, we should say, in our sugi over here, we should say that it shouldn't join together unless it is something which can be combined. And if you take straw and grass, it's not a good combination because a person is not going to waste grass on a cow because he'll think to himself, why should I bother? I can give him straw, which is much easier for me to get hold of. Top of our involvement days, that it does combine. Sometimes a person wants to sell animal food and he wants to show that he's got a variety of products. So what does he do? He takes a little bit of cow food, a little bit of camel food, a little bit of sheep food, a little bit of goat food, and he makes out of it a little bundle. And what happens is...
Samples.
Samples, that's a good word. It's good for samples, and therefore it is of value. And therefore, since it's good for samples, it's of value. And therefore, if a person was to carry a sample of all the different ones together, then he is chayav. And Rashi adds that not only does a person want to take them together, some of these ingredients are heavier than the others. And because of that, they make sure that the light ingredients don't fly away. So a person wants the ingredients to be together. And therefore, it's happy to carry them. And since it's happy to carry them together, he's chayav.
Is this only for people that sell these sort of products, or a normal person who's just walking it can?
So that's a good question. I mean, what happens if somebody, so why is he carrying it? I mean, he's carrying it with, why is he carrying it? Not to sell. Then why is it? I think that he would be chayav, because since it is something of value for people, it is something like, for example, let's say you take a cow food, but you're not planning to feed a cow, you're planning to just carry from place to place. So you're chayav. Why? Because once they establish that this is something which is a shiur, which a person can enjoy, for cow food, therefore that's a shiur. Even if you don't actually plan for that, that is the halacha, because we'll see later about medicine and things like that. A person's chayav because that day it's useful. Says the Mishnah, a person carries food that's an apple or an orange, kugugeres, the size of a dried fig, chayav. Or mitzvah zemze, mifnei sheshavu b'shurim, the mitzvah with each other because they equal share. So, for example, let's say take half an apple and half an orange, and together they come to the size of a dried fig, then the person's chayav. Chutz, that you have to exclude from the measurement, the kliposim, the peel, because you can't eat the peel, the garineim, the pips, because you can't eat them, uktsein is the bottom part of it, like the stems, the subon umorsanon, and the fine flour and the thick flour. The fine bran and the thick bran. That means you don't include, let's say you're carrying grain and it's got husks inside it, you don't include that because it can't be eaten. You have to carry. So if you carry an orange, you have to measure it without the peel, because if you can't include the peel, if you carry an apple without the pips inside the apple, without the stem, because that can't be eaten. Nowadays, when we eat an apple, what happens is we end up throwing out the core and this. We once had, years ago, a Russian, when 1990, when the Russians let Jewish people come out, a Russian came to our house, he ate an apple. Literally, the only thing that he left was the 2 tiny little black pips. Everything else was eaten. So therefore, an apple, you have to minus that, but everything else can actually be eaten. Except also from the peels of lentils, that they are included. The peels of a lentil is included, and therefore it's included in the shiur. So if you carry lentils, the peels are included. It says, do they not join? The Mishnah discusses how much you have to make to be chayav chalo, 5 quarters, plus a little bit more of kemach, chayavin bechalo. Hey, you include then the subunam osnon, and you include the husk, you include the bran. So you see that is included. Poor people, they eat wholemeal bread. And therefore, since poor people eat wholemeal bread, it's considered a proper dough. In our Mishnah, we'll talk about carrying. For carrying, it's not significant. It's an interesting division. When it comes to carrying on Shabbos, it has to be what generally is eaten. Generally speaking, people don't eat the bran. Since generally people don't eat the bran, therefore it's not considered carrying. When it comes to a dough, since at the end of the day you put it in the dough, and the poor people do eat the wholemeal part of the dough, therefore a person's chayav. Says the Mishnah, and that peels of a lentil people do eat. Says, well, adoshim and pulinoi, but beans not. That he includes the peels of beans, and he says that those 2 people eat. Says, it's not a kasha. New beans, people eat the peels. Old beans, people do not eat the peels. Why do people not eat the old peel, the peel of an old bean? They are black. The peel turns black. And since the peel turns black, people don't eat it because it's off-putting, looks like flies. Since it looks like flies, the person doesn't eat it. So therefore, the peel of a new bean is included because people eat it. The peel of an old bean is not eaten. We finish Klal Gadol. Everybody should stop for a moment, get to L'chaim, make a bracha shaku. It's a tremendous simcha to finish another parak. We're actually now basically halfway through Shabbos. L'chaim, we should have many, many more simchas. I made shaku before.
You can have Robert Sofer in mind.
Why?
His son just got engaged.
Oh, Mazel Tov, very nice.
In London, yeah.
How did you do that with him? How did you do all that with social distancing and everything like that?
Depends how many times you go out and things like that. It depends. L'chaim is now in London. So.
I just read about the sons of Rebbe. He got engaged before he ever met his Kala. And the sons of Rebbe was one of his legs. He was born with a limp. He had something wrong with one of his legs. So he could never walk properly, he could only limp. And the one who made the shidduch was his brother-in-law, his wife's, the future wife's brother. And he never told not his wife, nor his own parents, that the sons of Rebbe was limp. And when they met him for the first time, The parents said to, how can you do such a thing, make our daughter and get engaged without ever revealing? So he said to his father, talk to him in learning for a few moments, and you'll see that it is worth it. He talked to him in learning, and he married, and he was very, very happily married, actually. She was the daughter of who? Who's the Sanzeba? The Sanzeba got married actually 4 times. Who was his first wife? The daughter of, I don't know if it was not the Madane Yom Tov. That's very special. So as you can see, it's possible to get engaged without meeting.
As long as you don't have a limp.
As long as you don't have a limp. As long as, no, even if you have a limp, it's okay. As I said very briefly, I just read also, very, very interesting for me. Chassid Sofer was married for 25 years and he never had any children. And what happened was, during the engagement, they told him that his wife probably will not be able to have children. But he didn't want to get disengaged because he did not want to hurt her feelings. Can you imagine? And he was married for 25 years without children. And then she was lifted up. And he married the daughter of Rebbe Kiva Eger. And how many children did he have from his second marriage after being married 25 years in his first marriage without kids? How many children did he have in his second marriage? Anybody know? The daughter of Kiva Eger? Guess.
7.
3.
10 children. 10 children, can you imagine? So there's always hope. It's an unbelievable story, I think. It's an unbelievable story.
How old was she when they got married?
Well, the second wife,
Yeah.
she was 28. Managed to have 10 children. Okay. You just see, what I'm more impressed about is that he kept...
How old was he when he had his 10th child?
I don't know. I just very, very briefly things, because I like to read biographies. The Bishop Blazer was married to a woman, and she never had any children. And the doctor said she can't have children. He didn't want to divorce, not to hurt her feelings. And he wrote a Sefer, Zecher Yitzchak, because he writes an akdama to the Sefer. It looks like I'll never have children. And because of that, I wrote a Sefer that people should remember me. And then what happened was, his wife one day turned around to him and said, I don't want you never to have children, divorce me. So he divorced her, and he supported her for the rest of her life. He married someone else who was a widow, and he had a whole lot of children. It's interesting. I always get impressed to see that the sensitivity that they had. It's very interesting to say for the Zecher Yitzchak. It's by Yitzchak Petterberger. Anyway, if you ever get it, it's nicer. Okay.
Is there a halach about an islandess that if you know you've got...
Yeah, okay. I don't know if that is... That's what I'm wondering. Well, the halachic aspect of it all. Obviously felt that, causing a hurt to her feeling is also no good. Okay. It's very, very strange that this is a new parak. So the reality is that it's mamish a continuation. I couldn't find anybody other than Tessa Something who discusses why this is a continuation. He does not discuss why there's a break over here. Mishnah says like this. Now we're going to go through many ingredients. Each one, you have to tell me how much it's worth. So lechaim, everybody have a lechaim. So lechaim, mazel tov. We should have many more simchas. You can't imagine how much nachas ruach HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets when a person makes an effort. It's a huge simcha by the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We mentioned about the thing that the Yetzer Hara is happy. It gets the most damage to the Yetzer Hara is when a person makes a simcha that he learned. That causes the Yetzer Hara more upsetment. I just say very briefly that there's machlokas on Yom Tov if you're allowed to daven and learn the entire day. You know that. That means it's machlokas. On Yom Tov is chatzi Hashem, chatzi lochem. There's a machlokas. There is a shitta that holds that if you wished, you could spend the entire day of Yom Tov learning or davening. You don't have to indulge yourself, except for one Yom Tov. That's a Shavuos, a kol moedim ba'atzos v'nonami lochem. That you cannot not indulge yourself in Yom Tov. You have to have a celebration on Shavuos. Because Shavuos is the time to celebrate that we got the Torah. It's a huge idea. It's interesting that people learn a very lot on Shavuos. But the Gemara is clear that the main avoid of Shavuos is to celebrate that we got the Torah. That's a greater avoid than actually learning. And so obviously, if a person can learn and is not interested in learning, that shows a certain lack of appreciation that he got the Torah. If a person learns but he doesn't show any appreciation, joy that he got the Torah is also, he's missed the boat. Okay, says the Mishnah, if you take out wine, enough to dilute and fill up a cup. Cholov k'dei gemir, enough to swallow a gulp. Dvash, honey, k'dei litin alakosis. In olden days, when a person would have a wound, you put honey. Even nowadays, they say honey has a lot of healing powers. Shem and oil in order to anoint a small limb. We've more discussed it. Mayim kilo. Kilo is what you put in the eye, either for beauty or for medicine purposes. And the way you do it is you have to dilute it in water. So enough water to dilute kilo is chai. The shakol amashkin be'uvis. All other liquids you have to take a revis. How much is a revis? How much is a revis? One day Mr. Shem will have charts, and you'll look at the charts and you'll see instantly. But the revis is 86 milliliters or 150 milliliters. But all dirty water is a revis. Everything is a revis. The previous shum, which were less than a revis, was only for somebody that finds it important. That everybody else that is not put it away, that is not shown an interest in it, and unless it's a revis, it's not chai, as we discussed earlier. Second rule says Tana. We learned to the Bryce enough to be noisy, to dilute, to make a drink of a good cup. As we learned in brachas, that when a person benches, he has a mitzvah to make his cup nice. How does he make his cup nice? Anybody remember any of the halachas?
Surrounding it with other cups.
Oh, surrounding with other cups, very good. And wearing a hat when you put it up, when you put it, and washing out the cup. So kosher bracha is considered a kos yofer. So enough for benching. How much you need for benching? Again, you need a revis. Says the Gemara. Now, how much water ratio to wine do you have in order to have a good cup of wine? It's 3/4 water, 1/4 wine. So how much do you need to carry on Shabbos of wine to be chayav? Is 1/4 of a revis. Because if you carry 1/4 of a revis, you can add water, and then it's 3/4 water, 1/4 wine, and then you've got an entire revis of wine. So if you carry 1/4 of a revis of wine, about 20 milliliters or 30 milliliters of wine, that's enough to be chayav. Top of wine, Zayin and Aleph. We also learned it in our Mishnah. Why? Because the Mishnah says, enough to dilute a cup. But on the alog, do the gas case the offer. And the Brisa explains that it's referring to the offer, which is the case of benching. Bektoni is safe for Shakla Mashkin, the revis. All other liquids are revis. Meaning like this, Rashi explains. Once we know that all liquids have to be a revis, and we know that for benching you have to do 3/4 to 1/4, as the book has, let's just do one more line. That Rava holds that whenever you dilute wine, you always have to dilute it 3/4 to 1/4. So therefore, you can work out that the amount of wine that you need to carry to be chayav has to be 1/4 of a revis. What's the cheshbon? Because the Mishnah says clearly that what is considered a normal measure to be chayav is a revis. And we know that wine is diluted 1/4 to 3/4. So therefore, you can logically work out that in order to be chayav for carrying wine, it's 1/4 revis. Omar Abai states Shuvas B'Dava. I have two questions on you. Chodat Etnan. We learned in the Mishnah Niddah describes all the different colors, all the different shades of red that if a woman sees, she becomes also, she becomes a Niddah. One of the 5 shades of red is Vahamozu. Anything, wine which has been diluted. And the Mishnah says, what does it mean? 2 portions water, 2/3 wine, 2/3 water, 1/3 wine. From a specific kind of wine which was grown in the Sharon, in the Eretz Yisrael. So you see that how much you dilute wine by in that Mishnah, how much does it say? 1/3 wine, 2/3 water, not like you Rava that says it's 1/4 to 3/4. And therefore in our Mishnah it just says that you have to do enough wine that it should be a good diluting. It doesn't say whether it has to be 1/4 or 1/3 or anything. And therefore, just like the Mishnah Niddah says it has to be 1/3, maybe our Mishnah says it means 1/3, and therefore you don't know that 1/4 of a cup of wine, a quarter of a vis of wine is enough to carry. Right. Furthermore, mayim bekadu mitzdarfin, the water is in the jug and it's going to be mitzdarf. Abai asks a very logical question over here. We said in our Mishnah that in order to be chayav, what do you have to carry? a reverse of liquid. But wine enough to dilute and make a drink. Said Rabba, since you diluted 1 to a quarter, therefore a quarter of a cup of wine, that is enough to be chayav. So Abai says, first of all, 1 to 1 quarter, that measurement is not accurate because we see in one other place it's a third. But furthermore, he says, look at it over here, that when you take a cup with just undiluted wine, then what significance, what value does it have? Only in the fact that you can drink a cup of wine. But to drink the cup of wine, you have to add water. The water is not in the cup. The water is still in the jug. The water in the jug, that's going to add to the wine to make it forbidden for me to carry mechatesa. If I go outside, let's say orange concentrate on Shabbos, a tiny bit of orange concentrate. So now, orange concentrate by itself, does it taste nice? No, it's horrible. Now, the only reason why it's got value is because I could add water. But at the moment, I haven't added water. If I haven't added water, so therefore at the moment, it's not a useful drink. So why should I be chayav?
According to that, you'll never be chayav for carrying plain wine because it's not got any use until you dilute it.
Oh, you're not correct, but I like the question. Because when you take a quarter of a vis of wine, that is such a small amount that it's not any real value. The only value is because it can be diluted and therefore you can have years of drink. Like if I go outside with a cup with a tiny bit of orange concentrate and I say to people, do you think this is worth anything? They'll say to you, not really. What can you do with it? But it's got a potential if you add water. If I take a bottle of concentrate in the street, you say, well, you carry something of value? Yes, because at the end of the day, people appreciate it. And now bring it to your house, you'll be very happy to have bought some orange concentrate. Similarly, wine, the argument is only that when you bring a quarter of a vis of wine, it's got no value. Someone said to him, I don't agree with you. 2/3 water, 1/3 wine. That was a weak wine. A weak wine, you diluted 1/3 to 2/3. But other wines, it's 1/4 to 3/4. Inami. There we're looking for the color. There the Mishnah and Niddah is not interested in the taste of the wine. The Mishnah is just trying to establish what shade of red is forbidden. And the Mishnah says that wine which has been diluted 1/3 to 2/3, that's the correct color. So we're not interested in the taste. And it could very well be that when you do 1/3 to 2/3, the wine will not taste good because it's too strong. But for the color, it is correct. So God says, because you're looking at the color. For the taste, for that, of course, you need much more. Which is what you were saying, Shai, a bit before. Rava argues with Rabbi and says, no, in the end of the day, a quarter of a cup of wine, even though it's not being diluted, it still has value. Because at the end of the day, you can one day dilute it. And therefore, since it has significance in the future, it's got potential for Shabbos, that's enough to be chayav on carrying. Let me say like this. The Mishnah tells us to be chayav for carrying wine, you have to take enough wine to dilute in order that you can have a cup of wine. Says Rava, since normal diluting is 1/4, therefore 1/4 is enough. Abai argues, he says, who says a quarter is the right ratio? We see other places not like that. And furthermore, it hasn't yet been diluted, so maybe that's not enough. So Rava argues and says, no, the diluting ratio, which I told you is correct, and that Mishnah is talking about a weaker wine. Alternatively, the Mishnah is only talking about the color, not the taste. Oh, that's not significant. Yes, it is, because it's got potential at the end of the day to add color. Let's just do to the there's one more point, one more. Tana. Yovesh b'kazayis. Dry wine, which has been congealed, always shrinks, and therefore it has to be the size of a kazayis. Divrei Rav Nosson. Omar Rabbi Yosef, Rav Nosson, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda Amu Davar Echad. That Rav Nosson and Rabbi Yosef say the same principle, that a reverse of something, when it congeals, comes to the size of a kazayis. Rav Nosson had the Omar, we just mentioned. That wine, once it congeals, therefore it becomes the size of a kazayis, therefore it's a proper reverse. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, the Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Ima. Shishot von mikule beishama mechube beisilo. There are 6 things that B'Shamay or Mekel, B'Silil or Machmir. Generally, B'Silil or Mekel and B'Shamay or Machmir. There are 6 places where B'Shamay or more Mekel. Rashi points out there are more than 6, but he said over these 6 things in one go. And he only mentions one of them over here. Dam Nevela. B'Shamay Metam, B'Silil Metam. If a person touches a dead cow, let's say you're walking in the mountains, you see a cow drop down dead, you touch it, you become Tomei, Avatuma. If it's oozing blood and you touch the blood, it's a machlokes b'shama b'silam. The Shammai say you're told because you've not touched the carcass, you've touched blood. You'll have a different tumor, but not other tumor of the thing. It's got tumor smashkin if you can make it tummy. And we're still saying, no, you're tummy, because they hold that the blood of an animal is like touching the actual dead animal itself. So even when Beis Hillel said it's tummy, if you touch a drop of blood, then you're not tummy. Because in order to become tummy from a dead animal, how much do you have to touch? The size of a kazayis. Since you have to touch the size of a kazayis, therefore you're only tummy if you touch a revius of blood of a dead cow. A revius of blood of a dead cow, when it congeals, will become the size of a kazayis, and a kazayis is enough to become tummy. Says Rabbi Yosef, both Rabbi Nosson and Rabbi Yossi seem to say the same idea. One was talking about blood congealing to the size of kazayis to become tummy, like you're touching the kazayis of a dead animal. And one was talking about carrying on Shabbos, that wine which is congealed becomes the size of a kazayis. And both of them say that something congeals becomes a kazayis, that you're tummy, that it becomes a kazayis, and therefore you're chayav. Abai says something very, very simple. I'll say it outside and read it inside. That not necessarily, both of them are speaking very similar ideas, but Abai says not necessarily are they saying the same idea. One person is talking about wine. To be chayav for wine, you have to carry a revius. If it congeals the size of a kazayis, it's also chayav. One was talking about blood to become tomei, where it congeals the size of a kazayis. But not necessarily do wine and blood congeal to the same ratio. The thicker that something is, the less it shrinks when it congeals. Something which got a very lot of water inside it, and then you dry it out, will shrink a very lot. It seems if you dry out a cucumber, it becomes almost nothing because the cucumber is like 95% water. If you've got something else which got much less ratio of water and you dry it out, it will not shrink so much. There's the Gemara that wine is more liquidy than blood. And therefore when wine shrinks, it shrinks more than blood shrinks. Therefore when wine congeals, it will become much smaller than when blood congeals, because blood is much thicker. So therefore each man, the Omar, does not necessarily hold with the other man. What you are saying, he said that wine congeals from revius into kazayis. And he said that blood congeals from revius into kazayis. They're both saying the same thing. Says, well, it's not true. Since each one congeals in a slightly different ratio, it is possible that neither of them agree with each other. Says perhaps it's not no connection.
I can't just try it.
Why can't we just? Oh, why can't you try it? Ritva asks you a question. Ritva says that not always is it clear what's considered the dry, what's the correct amount. It's one of these questions you have. Whenever we have a technical question, why didn't they just go to a science lab and test it? That is because what's considered properly dried, what's considered properly congealed. So it goes like this. The college which is loose. The summit which is thicker. Kazayis doesn't need a revius. Why? Because even less than a kazayis is revius. A kazayis does not need a revius. It's in fact, it is much much less than a revius. Will also congeal into the size of a kazayis. In the alternative, the kazayis elo bedam, the somich which is very thick. Avadiyain, the college which is looser. Kazayis have a yosim revius. By wine which is loose, if a person was to carry less than the kazayis of wine, he would also be chayav. Because since wine is very loose, when it congeals, it shrinks and comes to less than the kazayis. Since it comes less than the kazayis, therefore a person would also be chayav. So therefore you can't compare the congealing of wine to the congealing of blood. There are two separate measurements, and therefore perhaps they do not agree with each other. Okay, we'll stop here. I have to point out that tomorrow's daf is a lot of Agadata, it's a lot of Isa Gemars. And then I'd like to go a little bit faster. We've got Shavuos coming up. And also thinking very long term. We'll finish Shabbos somewhere in the middle of the summer holidays. There's a nice, hopefully by the 9 days, the lockdown should be finished. And it's a big Indian to do a siyum during the 9 days. I'm saying we're still a long way ahead of that. If it's possible to do the siyum in the 9 days, I think it's a nice idea. As I mentioned before, siyum, there's many makers for such ideas. Anybody has objections can always let me know. Or if anybody's got any hours, can let me know. Any questions on today's daf?
Is Monday a different time, Rabbi Yehuda, did you say?
Oh no, we'll see. I'll see how the things. Might have to
Bank
go
holiday,
out.
by the way.
What?
Bank holiday. Maybe you could do an early one if you.
Monday's a bank holiday. I never knew. I might know. I tell you what it is. My parents know I've been in lockdown for months in London. We've got no children living in London. There's a small chance of visits, but I don't know. I'm not sure how to do it and whatnot. The problem is going to bathrooms and service stations and going there. They don't want us to come into the house. It's one of these very old. My brother, I've got two brothers who've done it. One brother hasn't seen my parents in over a year, drove down literally for a couple of hours. And another brother who does come more regularly came today. He came to my house to the bathroom because my parents are much older than me. I'm more concerned about it. But it's a very hard. It's anybody drive down to visit their parents or parents who are out of town? No, nobody's done it.
I think service stations you probably can use the facilities there.
Yeah.
I think
The question is also I want to use the facilities.
Sorry?
Question if you want to use the
I tell you, if I go myself, I don't mind. It's my point. They take a little children, they'll need the service stations. They'll need facilities. I don't know, I'm not sure. We'll see closer to the time.
Take little boys, it's less of a problem.
I'm not sure. We'll see how we'll see. We'll leave it as it is, Mr. Shem. And then new Monday's bank holiday. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned before about Shavuos, about how the learning by Shavuos nights a minhag.
Yes.
But a lot of people are very makbid on it. Yet Pesach, which is a doraisa, is everyone's in a rush.
Everyone's in a rush. So what's the answer to that? There's a few answers given. What is that if we pass an act of what?
Yeah,
that's the main answer, yeah.
The what? That's the 4 cups of wine, you're too tired.
No, the Eitzahara, meaning like
Like Minyanim in lockdown for people who don't normally care about it.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. We stop there. Any questions? Anybody have a question?